like I should be doing a dance. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrienne. I'm the CEO of Partisia Blockchain Foundation. We are a Swiss data privacy protocol. So to put it in a nutshell, we are doing for data what Bitcoin did for money. What do I mean by that? Well, before Bitcoin, you can simplify it and say either you gave trust, gave your financial assets to all of the banks, the financial institutions, or you stuffed your money under the mattress. Before Partisia and other privacy-preserving technologies, you either gave your data up to everyone you wanted to interact with, or you went back to cave dwelling. We enable people to self-custody their data while allowing rich interactions, enabling the emergence of a new wave of innovation on top of blockchain technology. For us, that's all based around a thing called MPC, or multi-party computation. So as a user, all you need to know is that your data doesn't leave your device or your domain in a readable format, and yet products and projects that you choose to interact with can run rich queries against it and receive rich responses. So how does it compare to something like ZK proofs, which you've been hearing about a little bit in the previous presentation? Well, in ZK proofs, there are a lot of phenomenal use cases. They're generally based on two parties, a prover and a verifier, running a simple query and giving a binary response, a yes, a no, 1, 0, true, false. MPC enables you to work with multiple data sets that are all individually secure, run complex queries, and receive rich responses. So to put it in real life, maybe you use something like ZK Proof. You can, as we try to adopt the real world and we realize that we need to find ways to do things like identity verification in ways that are true to our ethos, that retain individual sovereignty. You can verify that you're over 18 or that you're genuinely human with something like a ZK proof. With MPC, maybe you could expand that to cover things like self-custodied, programmable KYC, or credit scoring, where you hold all of the financial data, but they can calculate a credit score on that basis and maybe get us out of the over-collateralized lending product era. That's all enabled by MPC. The data is encrypted and it's sent in different secrets, in different parcels, so nobody has the full picture. It's complex. We're making it simple, but it is complex. And this is where I think we have what I like to think of as a very fair advantage. One of our founders is a gentleman called Ivan Damgard. Back in 1988, he wrote and published the first ever paper on multi-party computation. He was also the co-inventor of the Merkle-Damgard hash function, which I'm non-technical, but I'm told was one of the seminal pieces of cryptography that underpins Bitcoin. A lot of what came after even has links to the internet. As well as all these wonderful academics, the DevCo has 16 years of using that great thinking to actually solve real-world commercial problems for people like the Danish government, enterprises like Bosch, organizations like the International Red Cross. We are also very fast. We've got sub-second finality. And techies, please don't roll your eyes. We theoretically are infinitely scalable. That's important because we're trying to tackle really big problems. We're looking to partner with projects that want to build things that solve things like identity verification in ways that are more empowering for individuals while enabling innovation. We're working with Web2 Enterprise to talk about things like emerging data economies, where you can take product information, user information, go from single purchase into lifetime customer value, interface with ancillary products, go into secondaries. We're also looking at real-world asset tokenization projects, enabling them to use blockchain rails while being regulatory compliant, enabling them to use DeFi, but hitting feature parity with Web2 banks. We're kind of shorthand calling it BankFi at the moment. It's like banking, but without the banks, using DeFi plus identity. There's also a number of health tech products that are now hitting maturity. We all saw what happened to 23andMe. There are vast repositories of sensitive data, which if properly managed can give value, badly managed can destroy you. And we do that in a way where the projects can be built on any chain, with Partisia providing data privacy as a service. We have our own native token. We also use a range of blue chip tokens for gas payments. And we are now scaling up. We are accelerating awareness, adoption, looking for partners, projects, operators. We think it's time for a new meta. Build it, stake it, join us.
I hate to repeat myself, but like, how is your token getting value, and how are you distributing that to the operators?
So our token is used to provide economic security to the network. So you stake the token to run one of three types of nodes. We have Baker nodes, which are our consensus nodes. We have MPC nodes, which do the MPC computations. And then we have Oracle nodes, which are responsible for bridging tokens into our ecosystem using an MPC bridge. Those all have stake requirements to ensure that quality of service remains high. And operators earn a share of MPC rewards. Our last APR was 51%. They also receive, as we scale out transactions and people elect to pay transaction fees in Ethereum, BNB, POL, wrap BTC, USDC, USDT, they also get a share of blue chip tokens that they can accrue in our ecosystem.
Maybe explain that a little bit on, like, there's like multiple tokens that you could give back. Like, you're a separate blockchain, but you could get.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a great question. It's one of the things that is different about us. So in our ecosystem, you can choose what token to pay gas in. You can pay gas, and it's part of trying to make it easier to adopt if you're a builder in something like Ethereum. It means that builders can get kind of stable gas tokens. They can use USDC or USDT and know what they're going to be paying each time. It reduces like the FX risk of working in crypto. It also means that if you are building an app in Ethereum and everything is in ETH, you can use ETH for gas, or our native version of ETH. It facilitates life for builders, but it reduces, some of the, I guess, sell pressure on the token. It also enables our operators to earn in a basket of tokens.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. You mentioned multiple segments for use cases, like BankFi, healthcare. So, and since the mainnet is already happened, so in which segment you get the most traction?
Yeah, another great question. So we went on to live mainnet back in 2022 in beta version. We've been seeding the early ecosystem since then. We have a number of projects building with things like private auctions, which we think could be big for things like tender processes. Actually, looking at the US elections play out, I think private voting would be great, because then you could use the transparency and immediacy of blockchain while enabling people to retain their privacy. We have projects that have been basically playing with the technology largely up to now. So we have, a simple game built out. We've got a project built around gender pay equality and looking at sensitive salary data. For CSR obligations. We have a number of other things that I'm probably blanking on. I think the things that we've seen the greatest traction on currently, because we're now in that expansion stage and acceleration stage, is around identity and real-world assets. But some of the Web2 enterprise we're talking to, while there are fewer of them, any one of them would be potentially game-changing from a transaction volume standpoint. So in volume of projects we're talking to, probably identity and real-world assets, potential impact, so they could blow it out of the water.
Yeah, thank you.
So all of these are amazing use cases, right? Even the comment about the election, right? It's such an obvious thing that needs to happen. In your guys' experience over the last few years, what do you see as the biggest hurdles of actually getting this adopted, these sort of technologies mainstream with the sort of Web2 industries you're speaking to?
So the first is that they're slow. So they're not early adopters, most of them. There is a reason they get disrupted. The second is regulatory compliance is complex. So if you take just something like identity and you look at self-sovereign KYC, it makes a ton of sense. To be able to custody your data and still give rich verifications. And yet we live in a world where the regulator expects unfettered access on demand, and trying to navigate that. I actually think MPC can provide part of the solution that at least would get us 90% better than where we are today, if not 100%. So there's a lot of regulatory complexity. They are slow to move very often. So we've had some conversations that have been underway for literally a year. And yeah, I think there's also, one of the other things that is cool about our project is to go back into pitch mode sneakily. They're also more comfortable with private blockchains. than they are with public blockchains as of today. We don't have a great brand image as a sector. Like when they think of Web3, like you can almost see their eyes roll because they think we're all grifters and scammers, and all they see is meme coins and Sam Bankman-Fried. So there's a brand perception issue. Like one of the things we've seen is our DevCo builds private blockchains. We can go with a hybrid private-public proposal. And so some of the projects that have been building on the private blockchain are now starting to look at using elements of the public blockchain. So I think, branding, regulation, and just the fact that they're slow.
All right. I'm afraid time's up, Adrienne. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.